following preview has been rated good by the Good, the Bad, and the Weird podcast. Please check out the full episode when it releases on Sunday. We are the Good, the Bad, and the Weird podcast. And I see a whole army of listeners here in defiance of bad historical biopics. You have come to listen as free people, and free people you are. What would you do with that knowledge? Will you fight? Aye, fight and you may die. Run and you'll live, at least a while. And dying in your beds many years from now, would you be willing to trade all those days for this day and that for one chance? Just one chance to come back here and tell all our enemies that they may take our lives, but they will never take our freedom.
Yeah, we're going to cover Braveheart.
I'm Nicho.
And I'm Chris.
And yes, we are doing the wildly inaccurate movie Braveheart.
Oh my god. Okay, so not gonna lie. When we first agreed to do this one, I was a little bit excited because I hadn't seen this movie in a very long time.
Same.
And I remembered it being like really good.
Yeah.
Like, oh my god, this movie's amazing, on the top 10, everyone must watch it list. And now having rewatched it, even ignoring how incredibly inaccurate all of it is, down to just all of it, the whole thing, it's not as good as I remember.
No, and I think part of it is also we did history research, so
that didn't help the case. But even then, like, I remember this movie being like, from front to back, being full of like really witty and like emotional speeches, and it's got those in it, but it's in between like really dry dialogue.
Yeah, and I think we've seen better movies since is the other issue too.
That is, I think, a huge problem. Yeah.
Is that I think it's bogged down by just a lot of nothing that, or little plot points that really don't add to the whole or go anywhere.
Yeah, that's true. And also, like, it's just, there's some like parts that, like, now that I have seen better portrayals of like war strategy, even guerrilla warfare versus like proper like military movies, and also just portrayal of different places and people in general, there's not a lot of variation going on here.
Well, and I think also we're spoiled by, I don't know if have you seen Seven Samurai yet?
I don't think so, actually.
Okay.
But I have seen a lot of other like just samurai movies in general, and also like since watching this movie the first time, I have then like gone on to watch like the rest of the historical biopics that have like come out.
Yeah. Partially
because my grandpa and my dad both really like those sorts of movies. So like generally that's what's on if we're watching a movie with them. There's so many that are much more compelling.
Yeah. One of these days we'll have to do the samurai trilogy about Miyamoto Musashi.
Yes.
So, but yeah, I don't know. I think it has lost some of the vibrance. I think the parts that hold up are really the music.
Oh my god, the music was still amazing.
The couple speeches.
Yeah.
I just think since we've seen better movies or different movies at least. It's the drama that doesn't really drive the movie. Like, there's drama that's supposed to be there, but it just feels like it's just kind of being laid out and happening instead of like actual driving forces behind everything.
Well, and also like, especially since rather recently we've gone through this wave of like interest in historical drama films as a nation. I've seen how like something that like you talked about was there's really not a whole lot historical that's like action-y to go along with this actual character. But we've seen such really great portrayals of like court life and drama and politics that could have been like implemented.
Yeah.
Like the Anne Boleyn movies that came out a couple years ago were a great example of like a good way of like introducing politics and making that interesting.
I don't know those movies.
Oh, we'll have to watch them sometime. Erica and I sat down and had a whole girls' night over them.
Okay.
But like they were a great way of like introducing like politics and drama and this idea of like court life to making that exciting alongside battles and beheadings. Because, like, yeah, there's not a ton of actual action.
Yeah.
But, like, they still felt like they were high suspense and high, like, stake.
Okay.
So, like, there's... But I will... Something that good that has come out of it is now that you have gotten to see the beautiful Wallace statue and how amazing that looks.
Oh my god.
And also, like, we've finally come through and, like, really gotten a good, well-rounding on Mel Gibson as not just an actor, but a director.
Mm-hmm.
Which, he's not my favorite, but he did make a lot of, like, very, like, pinpoint in history sort of movies, this being one of them.
Yeah.
Like, this movie made a lot of people interested in Scottish history and culture.
Yeah, and I think... I mean, what it does, if like we talk a little bit about this, if it had been portrayed as a work of fiction, I think it would have done better.
Yeah,
it's the fact that here's the other thing too, is it's not over dramatized either. Like, it's just drama enough, but just doesn't really doesn't tug at your heartstrings like it used to.
No, and I think part of that is because we've seen better portrayals of side characters in movies.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the Wallace character spends so much time on screen that we don't get to really know any of his love interests.
Well,
we don't really, like, we understand the, like, bond between him and his best friend, but, like, I honestly couldn't tell you much about his best friend other than he's strong.
Well, and now that I'm thinking about it, he's honestly a rather one-dimensional character too. Like,
yeah,
his driving force is because, they killed his woman, or as he corrects Princess Isabella, she was my wife. And it's like, we spend like 3 or 20 minutes of you guys, okay, you love each other, you guys got secretly married,
and then she dies.
Yeah.
Like, other than her being, like, supposedly this kind of, like, free spirit,
mm-hmm.
she doesn't really have a whole lot of dialogue. We don't really know a whole lot about her.
We spend too much time in the beginning setting up Wallace's childhood.
Yeah, which is kind of disappointing because, like, the first half of this movie is beautifully shot.
Mm-hmm.
The landscape looks really great, and, like, while they had a lot of challenges with the rainy terrain and, like, weather in general, I think they did a great job of, like, enhancing it and making it part of, like, no, this is Scotland and the rain is pretty.
The battles are dope.
The battles are pretty dope, even if they are wildly inaccurate.
Yeah.
And while we don't know literally anything about him, the silly Irishman is funny.
Yeah. But again, it's another character that's used for like 3 scenes, and then...
Honestly, I don't remember what happens to him.
He's part of the group that bails on Wallace at the end, yeah.
That's right. Also, like, it's just like this random Irishman who, like, got kicked out of Ireland.
Yeah, it's just a weird assortment of random history facts that don't...
They don't really all go together.
Yeah. It's I don't know. It's different from what we remember it, I think, and...
Definitely,
especially having this being our, 107th episode?
Yeah, that's true. And also we had a bit of a streak with, like, Scottish movies in general.
Mm-hmm.
We've touched on quite a few different portrayals of, like, Scottish lore, history, and this one, while the speeches were really good, while there were parts that were really interesting, there's not a lot of detail going on anywhere.
No.
There wasn't a whole lot of, like, bits to take away, and honestly, while this is based off of history, if I hadn't had to research for this episode, I probably wouldn't have, despite, like, other ones that we've done, like The Secret of the Kells, where I was compelled to do research over the Book of Kells and the different characters and creatures that I saw.
Well, and that's the thing, is, like, the history of this movie is Battle 1, Battle 2, Battle 3. Cool.
Yeah, which is disappointing, because, like, the character that he's based off of is cool, it's just... It's not portrayed in such a way that you're interested or have any jumping off points of understanding the guy. Yeah.
We had to do our own research to understand who the real William Wallace even was.
And even that was... It was a lot of piecing bits together just because it's part of, like, a dry style of history where it's like, Battle A happened. Mm-hmm. And then he left for 6 years and then he was captured.
Yeah.
We don't know.
Yeah, so... But... Anywho, this has been the Good, the Bad, and the Weird previews.
Check out the full episode.
Peace.